Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia Defazio, and I'm joined today by Prashant Sabapathi and Ozer Culhagil of Elite Income Advisors. Prashant, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Fantastic. Always a pleasure to see you. I'm excited about today's
Likewise.
show. Ozer, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for asking.
Good. It's always a pleasure to have you both in the studio. And obviously, I know how busy you are, so thank you for always taking the time to come in and sharing the information with our viewers at home. I know people love everything that you're doing. And obviously, let's talk a little bit about everything that you're doing, because you have a new book that you've co-written, I should say, Retire Abundantly.
That's right.
This is fantastic, and obviously a long time coming, because your first book obviously did so well, and you're still getting a lot of people requesting that book, and now you followed up with this one.
Yeah, and you know, when we co-authored this one, wrote it with one of my mentors, his name was Scott Keffer, and when we co-authored this one, we wanted to take a little bit of a different approach, right? The first book that we did, Fiscal Health, Retirement, Wealth, when I wrote that book, it was very much so about what specifically everyone needs to think about and concrete risks and things like that with regards to retirement planning. With this book, we wanted to do things a little bit differently. I wanted to look more at kind of the abstract part of retirement, meaning not so much, you know, what risks do you face, but more so, what do you actually want retirement to look like? You know, what is like the perfect vision of retirement? And I think that's kind of one of the issues, I think, with this industry a lot of times, is that you go to see an advisor and they don't start in the correct place. Meaning, it's so common to go see an advisor, and then the first questions you hear are, what are your risk tolerance? Or have you considered this stock or mutual fund or annuity or life insurance or whatever? And to me, that was always the complete wrong place to start. You know, I think the foundation of any real quality retirement plan is a plan that allows you to unlock whatever your vision is for retirement. And there's so many different solutions that can go into that. And so I think you have to start from the beginning with what is important to you, not important to the advisor you're seeing.
Prashant, I love that, because Ozer, obviously we've talked about this in the past, that there's such an importance with working with the right type of advisor. So often people specialize in more of the accumulation phase of life, but when you're getting into retirement, it's more about the distribution phase of life and learning what people want to do. Would you say that's correct?
That is correct. You know, there is a couple different type of advisors, but most of the time the advisors that we are seeing it is they are focused on the accumulation phase of the money, right? Which is the most important thing. And we have to do this starting at the, you know, age 20 and goes, you know, whenever that we're gonna be retiring. But when it's time to retire, now is the distribution phase. And what you wanted to focus on to working with a person who is specialized in the distribution phase, which that's what we are trying to do with most of our clients, is the distribution is the important part, and are you ready for that?
And distribution in particular specifically means, how do you get from the day you retire through the end of your lifetime without running out? That's what distribution ultimately is. And you got to be able to manage the tax liability along the way, right? So it's absolutely this mindset shift, accumulation to distribution, just like Ozer said. But really what that means is, are you going to have enough income coming in to last you every single month for the rest of your lifetime and be able to efficiently manage the tax liability that comes with that?
That's a great point that you just brought up, because how does someone know that, Prashant? How do they know they're going to have enough money in retirement? What are some of the questions that you ask? What are some of the formulations? Yeah,
so the most common thing I hear when we sit down with folks is, I'll always ask, can you share with me what is your kind of experience with retirement planning? How much planning have you really done? And so often, hear it all the time, we have a plan in place. I say, great. You mind if we take a look at it? Can you share with me what it is? And then statement for a 401k, IRA, brokerage account. And sometimes I look at that and I say, just having statements, just having your money in a bunch of different places is not the same as having a real plan, right? Nowhere on those statements does it show you how much money you can withdraw every month and make sure that you don't run out, right? And so having a real plan really takes into account all the money you have, coordinating how to manage the tax liability, coordinating that with your Medicare benefits, right? What are you going to do for health care in retirement? That's a huge expense, right? What happens if your spouse passes away before you?
Yeah.
How is that going to impact your income? All of these things are different things that we all have to consider. And unless we have all of these things in place, in my opinion, it's hard to say that we have a real financial and retirement plan in place. And I think that's the biggest distinction that we make. And that's what I think is one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is thinking that they have a real plan, but in fact, they don't.
Yeah, they're just basically grabbing those statements out of the mailbox, thinking that those are the plan.
Yeah, right.
Well, Ozzy, I should ask you a question. How does someone know that they are able to retire, that they're ready to retire? How do they know that?
How do they know that? I'm not sure if anyone is looking at the statements and saying that, okay, I'm ready to retire. Like what we do in our office is, for every person who comes in, we make them an income for life report. And that report shows them how much income they're going to get from each year from all the resources. Either it's a guaranteed or non-guaranteed, but they need to know how much income they're going to coming in for them to be able to spend. And when it comes down to spending, there is, to me, it's two different things. There is needs and there is wants.
Right.
And the need is our basic expenses, and the wants are some extra going to a vacation and, you know, the cruises that they wanted to do. But we are focusing on the income. As long as they have the income, they will be okay.
Okay.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like, you'll know when you can retire. I'll tell you exactly when. You can retire when you have more income coming in than expenses going out. And as long as you can rely on that income, then you can retire, right? But most people don't know how to figure out where that income is going to come from, how much it's going to be, how it's going to be taxed when they receive it, and what happens to it when they pass away. If you can answer these 4 questions relative to your income, I think you're going to have a much better understanding of whether or not you can retire.
I can't imagine trying to do that by yourself. So many people are do-it-yourselfers. They go online and they try to design certain things. I can't even imagine trying to do that by yourself.
You know, my wife has her money in a 403B plan at her employer. And when you log in to that employer portal, it's got this really interesting, like, retirement projection estimate, right? Based on the rate that you're contributing now, based on your expenses, this is how much money you're going to have at retirement age. But it doesn't tell you with what level of certainty that plan is going to be successful. It doesn't tell you how much income you'll be able to reliably generate. And so when we sit down and put together that income for life plan that Oz talked about, you'll see it on our big screen TVs. We have these 80-inch TVs in every single one of our meeting rooms.
Okay.
We put your plan up there in nice, colorful plan that we put together, and it's going to show you, this is your income from Social Security, this is your income from your pension, from your investments, from your annuities, and then we compare that to your expenses. We account for inflation, we account for taxes, and when you have more income coming in than expenses going out, that's what's going to make you feel
Time
comfortable.
to retire.
Yeah,
Then it's time to retire. That's how you know.
So if you've never been through that, or your advisor has never taken you through that type of process, this is a great opportunity for you to pick up the phone and just give us a call, okay? It's 833-308-5200. When you dial that phone number, you'll be able to schedule a complimentary, no obligation visit with our team at Elite Income Advisors. When you come in to visit with us, we're going to talk through your situation. We'll put together that income for life plan, and we'll look at it together to see where your income is going to come from when you retire. What we find is that a lot of people are actually able to retire sooner than they ever thought, but they never knew that because they never put a plan together. When you come in to visit, it's totally complimentary. You leave your checkbook at home. And at any point in the process, if you feel like we're not the right fit for you or you're not a good fit for us, then we can go our separate ways with no hard feelings. This process is not really designed to turn every one of our viewers into a client. It's designed to help you get the information that you need to feel comfortable making these extremely important decisions. Best thing to do, pick up the phone, give us a call, 833-308-5200. You can also pull out your cell phone, open up the camera, and scan the QR code here at the bottom of the screen. That will take you to our calendar, and that way you can schedule a time to come in and visit.
Prashant, thank you so much. Ozzy, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call is on your screen, 833-308-5200. You've worked your entire life to have the retirement of your dreams, and we sure you have a lot of questions about how to do so. Prashant and Ozzy have the answers for you. All you have to do is call in, 833-308-5200, or if you have your smartphone, go ahead, grab it, click on the QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. We're going to take a very short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. We have so much more on Retire Smart Maryland.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter. The one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
And welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia Defazio, and I'm joined today by Prashant Sabapathi and Ozzy Culhagil of Elite Income Advisors. Gentlemen, a great show we're having today, talking about the importance of planning for retirement and retiring with abundance, if you will. But let's talk a little bit about the emotional aspect of retirement, because so often I know you have a lot of couples that come into the office and perhaps they're sitting together and they're thinking about what retirement life may look like. What happens, Prashant, when that doesn't add up? When one spouse wants one thing and the other wants
another. And it's kind of interesting because you can tell, from my point of view, I can tell when partners, spouses, have not talked about this amongst themselves, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'll never forget this. This was some time ago. We had one of our TV viewers come in. They set an appointment. They came in to talk. And they were already working with an advisor. But how we start our meetings is I like to think about what retirement looks like to you. So I said to him, in a perfect world, if we're sitting here 10 years from now and you're looking back on your retirement, what would have to have happened for you to say that this was everything I wanted it to be? Mm-hmm. And he starts to tell me, well, you know, my dream is to get this, RV camper and just drive it all across the country and see the United States and everything. And while he was talking, I looked over at his spouse and she was looking at him like, what is he saying? And you could tell that he had never said this to her before.
Oh, no.
And in that moment, she goes, what are you talking about?
Oh,
and that's
gosh.
where I was like, I wonder how many people that this actually happens to.
Yeah.
So I think speaking to the emotional side of retiring, we all have our dreams and our visions for what we want life to look like, okay? If you have a spouse, you need to have that conversation with your spouse together to make sure that you're on the same page. And that's why one thing that we always talk about is the importance of planning together. Okay, so often we have one spouse that handles the financial side of things. And when they book these appointments to come in and visit with us, they'll come alone. Because they always say, you know, my spouse, they don't really handle this part of it, so they didn't really need to come in. And that's where I would push back a little bit.
Yeah.
And I would say, even if you're the one that primarily handles everything, it's so important to involve your partner in the process. What if tomorrow you're not here? What are they going to do?
Right.
Right? Just because you handled everything doesn't mean that they're magically going to be okay if something were to happen. So I think it's so important to make sure you're 100% on the same page. And I think it's really important that in the event that you're not here tomorrow, that your spouse knows exactly what they need to do to pick up the pieces and be able to move on. Because without that clarity, it leaves you with a heck of a lot of stress. And when you're retired, you don't want more stress, you want less. Right?
Absolutely, Prashant. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because obviously, Ozzy, we've heard in the past where when a couple's together, obviously one person will handle one part of the relationship, typically the other person handles the other. But it is so important, because if something happens and that spouse does pass away, the other person has to make sure that they have everything in place. Do you see that happening quite a bit?
we see that happening a lot, and most of the time, one spouse handles all the finances, which we call them a CFO of the house, like they're doing all the finance and everything. But at the end, both of the spouses needs to know what's going on, and when someone passes away, what's going to happen. Actually, we do help our clients when it comes down to that. What's going to happen is like every time a prospect become a client, we do provide them a binder. And in that binder, we put together their asset summaries, their income plans, their life insurances, their real estate bills, and so forth, and all their accounts anywhere. So what that does is, God forbid, if something happens to one of the other spouse, then the other spouse can pick up the binder and look at it. Oh, okay, I have this, I have this, I have this. That helps to a lot of people, in my opinion.
That is such an incredibly important point that you're making there. It's about simplicity. Okay, I talked in the last segment about all the problems with the financial industry. I think advisors try to overcomplicate things, right? You start talking about investments, and everyone wants to tell you how much they know, right? Like the way we do things in our office, I think part of the reason our clients really like us is we try to make things as simple as possible. When you pick up this personal financial inventory binder, I'm a big believer you should be able to look at just one sheet of paper and know what your approximate net worth is. I think you should be able to look at one sheet of paper and know what your income is projected to look like every year for the rest of your life. I think you should be able to look at one sheet of paper and know who the beneficiary is on every single one of your accounts, your bank accounts, your life insurances, your 401ks, your IRAs. Because simplicity is what makes things easy, right? The last thing anybody wants to do is be juggling for this paperwork or that folder. I got to call this person. Like Ozzy said, you got this binder, you pick it up, you look inside of it, and you know exactly what to do next. That is the power of having a real financial plan.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, the most fulfilling, people always ask me, what is like the best part of what we do? I think the best part of what we do is when you sit down with someone in the hardest point of their life, when their spouse has just passed away, and you say, this is a plan that we can rely on because we spent years putting it together. By far, that's the most fulfilling part of what we do, at least in my opinion. And so I think everybody who's listening to the show deserves that. Okay, and if you haven't been through that process, we're going to give you the opportunity to come in, visit with our team, and hopefully work to putting together your own personal financial inventory binder. The best thing for you to do is just pick up the phone and give us a call. It's 833-308-5200. We have operators standing by, and when you call in, they'll be able to schedule you to come into our offices in Ellicott City. We're right off of Route 100, very centrally located. You'll meet with Ozzy, you'll meet with me, you'll meet with our team, and we'll help you put that plan together. At any point in the process, if you feel like it's just not the right thing for you, you can walk away. There's no questions asked, no obligations, and it certainly does not cost you anything to at least come in and visit. So pick up the phone, give us a call. We also have the QR code here at the bottom of the screen. Just pull out your cell phone, you can scan that, and that'll lead you to our calendar where you can book a visit with us.
Prashant, thank you so much. And Ozzy, thank you. To our viewers at home, that number to call is on your screen. That number is 833-308-5200. We know that you have a lot of questions for Prashant and Ozzy about how to plan your perfect retirement. They have the answers for you. You have the opportunity to call in today. 833-308-5200. We're going to take a very short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. We have so much more on Retire Smart Maryland when we return.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
And welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia Defazio, and I'm joined today by Prashant Sabapathi and Ozer Culhagil of Elite Income Advisors. Gentlemen, a wonderful show we're having today talking about the importance of proper planning for retirement. And I'm sure we have a few viewers in the audience right now that are probably wondering to themselves, what does that retirement plan consist of? So can we break down the pieces and parts? Ozer, let me ask you, what are one of the little slivers of the retirement plan, something to be focusing on?
When we put together the plan, what we really focus on is what do you want to do at your retirement?
Okay.
Because you work hard all these years, like Prashant says, like 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be worrying about that, how much I'm going to spend or so forth. Like, you have to focus on what I'm going to do at my retirement, like the honey to-do list, which, you know, most of the people have that.
Yes.
That list always takes forever. And, you know, you have to focus on, like, the enjoyments, like the hiking, biking, traveling. I think that's what I'm focused on when I'm talking with the clients, is like, what do you want to do at the retirement?
Written goals.
Written goals. Like, you know,
yeah.
don't focus on the money. Like, focus on what is going to make you happy.
Yeah. Unless you have concrete objectives, how can you really plan for anything, right?
That's true.
And so that's a great point. Like, that's the very first part of
Yes.
it, is setting a realistic expectation of what we want life to look like. And then we can worry about the financial part. So that's part one. I would piggyback on that with part two, which is, once you do figure out the retirement objectives, let's figure out how much income you're going to need coming in to then make those objectives come true, right?
Okay.
And so maybe for some people that's $3,000 a month. We've met with folks where it's $15,000 a month, right? Whatever your retirement income number is, you got to find a way to get to that. And that's where we can put together what we would call the income for life plan. The income for life plan is going to show you very clearly, again, simplicity, one sheet of paper, one screen in our office, going to show you what your income is projected to look like each and every year for the rest of your lifetime.
Okay.
We have to answer 4 major questions when it comes to your income. Number 1, where is it going to come from? Social Security, pension, investments, annuities, whatever, real estate. So where's it going to come from? Number 2 is, how is it going to be taxed when you receive it, right?
Okay.
Is it in a Roth IRA? Is it, pre-tax? Number 3 is going to be what happens to it when one spouse passes away, right?
Okay.
Is it going to get cut down? And number 4 is, does it increase with inflation?
Ooh.
A lot of times people make the mistake of planning to get to their goal income on the day that they retire, and they forget to make sure that that income increases every year through retirement. If you get an income for life plan when you come in to visit with us, we're going to help you answer those 4 questions.
Okay, that is perfect. When you're designing the entire plan, Prashant, taking it one step further, are you taking a look at things like long-term care planning? I have to ask that because I know it's a lot of people thinking about that right now in the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great point you bring up. Long-term care is a huge concern. If you've been watching the show for a while, or if you've read my book, you know that I have a personal experience with this, with my mother, who's in a 24/7 long-term care situation now. And so you have to be able to plan for that. And furthermore, it's not just planning for long-term care. It's also, how does Medicare fit into this whole picture, right? When you turn 65 years old, you have Medicare. And so now you have to kind of juggle your Medicare benefits with your income, with your taxes, with your long-term care. There's so many different moving parts to this. Honestly, I don't know how anybody does this if you're not doing it every single day like we are. I don't know how the person who has a full-time job at work knows how to do all this stuff. I mean, it's taken us years just to learn it and be able to present it in a way that people can understand.
Most of the time, the people also don't even know, like, how the Medicare premiums are being determined, and like, oh, like, okay, I'm just gonna pay the Medicare premium, but like then I'm gonna take a bunch of money out from my retirement accounts to go do all the things that I wanted to do. But have you made your plan? Do you know that if you do take a lot of money out from your retirement accounts, it's gonna affect your Medicare premiums? Most of the people don't know anything about this.
A lot of advisors don't know that, right? Which is disturbing to me, right? So Medicare is looking at your income from 2 years prior to determine how much you pay for Medicare Part B. That is
That's huge.
That's a huge thing. So the
Yeah.
higher your income goes, the more your Medicare premium potentially could go up. And believe me, when you pay more for Medicare, the government doesn't just give you better insurance, right?
Right.
They just make you pay. And so you have to be able to control that. And so that's why income planning is so important. That's why Medicare planning is so important. Medicare planning is so important that we invested in our office. We invested to bring in a specialist that's now on our team. And he's a Medicare specialist. That's what he does. So now
Very good.
when you have Medicare questions, you call in, you ask for Bill in our office, and Bill will sit down with you and just talk with you about Medicare.
Yeah.
And that's it for an hour. And we'll integrate that into your overall plan. I think it's so important to have a tax specialist,
Yep.
a Medicare specialist, a long-term care specialist, Social Security specialist involved in the creation of your financial plan.
Sure, because that is a well-designed, holistic retirement plan. Everything that you just mentioned, gentlemen, when you're thinking about retiring, you want peace of mind knowing that all of those pieces are in place.
It's no different than going to see a doctor, right? You go see your primary care physician. If there's an issue that requires further attention, they're going to do what? They're going to probably send you to a specialist, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's exactly what we do here is we diagnose the situation where you're at, and then we use different specialties to address the needs that you have, okay? So if you've never gone through that before, let's not wait any longer on this. With everything going on in the world right now, it can be very easy to be paralyzed by everything that's going on. Let's go ahead and take action on this today. That phone number is 833-308-5200. When you call in, you'll be able to set up that appointment with our team at Elite Income Advisors. You'll meet with all of us, and we will help you put that plan together to help you feel confident about your retirement goals.
Prashant, thank you. Ozzy, thank you. To our viewers at home, thank you for watching Retire Smart Maryland. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We'll see you back 1 week from today.